What's up gamers, Cryptico here, and welcome back to Lowering the Mark, a show where I analyze the current and former world records of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe time trial runs to see how these records get faster over time. We'll look at elements such as the loadout, racing lines, and mushroom usage to better understand what's bringing these times down. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to know when my videos go live. For today's episode, we're dipping back into the Special Cup for the third time this season and taking a look at the least special track of them all, Bone Dry Dunes at 150cc. On May 1st, 2017, the world record for this course was set at 1 minute 52.037 seconds by the French player Kamek. Fast forward to January 2nd, 2020, where the record was set at 1 minute 48.287 seconds by fellow French player Army. That's a 3.7 second improvement between records and a 3.3% faster time. Let's meet our racers. Our former world record holder Kamek has broken 59 world records across 7 unique runs and has spent 334 days holding at least one world record. Not bad for a 2017 player. Our current world record holder Army, as you probably don't remember, has broken 105 world records across 26 unique courses and has spent 566 days holding at least one world record. He actually lost a few of his current world records since we last saw him, but he still holds a respectable 11 current world records. Let's take a look at the evolution of this record. At pre-release, the world record was just under 155 and would slowly see more second breaks through the end of May 2017. For the rest of that year, the first 150 was achieved by Kamek and the record got down to a 150.7 thanks to Japanese player Lemon. For just over 4 months into 2018, the record would improve little by little until the first 149 was achieved by Japanese player Peze right before the British player Jobo broke it with his 149.6, which would stand tall for 400 days. Jobo had a few more records in him, but now it was Alberto and Army's turn. They exchanged records from the low 149s to the high 148s, then something crazy happened. Army eviscerated Alberto's 48.9 by over 0.3 of a second, seemingly out of nowhere. Then he somehow found another 0.3 and beat his own record the next day. I mean, that's just absurd to drop 0.6 of a second on a whim like that. In total, the world record was broken 67 times by 15 different players. Okay, I promise, our loadouts actually have parity this week, both in stats and looks. Kamek goes with the combo of Dry Bowser in the Streetle Cart, Azier Roller Wheels, and the Super Glider. Army goes with another baby loadout featuring Baby Daisy driving the Biddy Buggy, Azier Roller Wheels, and the Paper Glider. Now I'm sure you're all aware this is a classic case of a heavy character versus a light character, which means total inversion of the speed and handling stats with the edge in acceleration and mini turbo going to the light character. The Streetle Cart offers a nice increase to Kamek's acceleration and mini turbo stats, but doesn't help him like the Biddy Buggy does. Army reaps a near full point increase to his acceleration and mini turbo stats, and an additional half point increase to his handling stat. This cart is literally the best. Both players picking the Azier Rollers means we see a 1/4 point increase to handling, a half point increase in acceleration, and a 3/4 point increase to the mini turbo stat for both players. The Super Glider doesn't do anything to Kamek's overall performance, unlike the Paper Glider that Army picked. He maxes out his mini turbo and handling stat with near max acceleration and ends up with a slightly better overall loadout. Kamek did a decent job building a balanced loadout, but Army does have the advantage that sets him apart from a measly 152. Let's have a look at the race. This course is one of tight turns, tractionless dirt patches, and a bunch of bones for some reason. Section 1 is fairly basic, Section 2 gets a little wild, and Section 3 is all about precision. Let's see how our racers tackle this course. Kamek starts off the race with a rocket start and hops into a drift around the first turn, resulting in a super mini turbo. He rides through the S part of the road into another mini turbo and grabs 2 coins before hitting another mini turbo just before the third turn. He'll take it tight and reap a super mini turbo right before the ramp. Army gets that rocket start but immediately skips the first turn with a mini turbo cut. He'll pick up an additional mini turbo before the 2 coins and grab a super mini turbo right before the third turn, where he takes a tight turn into an ultra mini turbo and a super mini turbo before the ramp. That initial cut and those extra mini turbos help put Army ahead of Kamek by nearly half of a second at the end of the quicksand section. Kamek hits a jump boost and hops into a drift, gaining him a super mini turbo before picking up 5 coins as he smoothly makes his way onto the bone cage. Here, he'll stay on a tight line and hit a few spin boosters and jump boosts on his way to the glider ramp. Army instead carries his super mini turbo over the ramp into another drift, resulting in an ultra mini turbo before those 5 coins. He enters the bone cage and grabs a super mini turbo before the first spin booster. Right before the second jump boost, we see him charge up a mini turbo and times its release right near the second jump boost. But even after that, he charges up another one that he'll release off the glider ramp for that extra boost through the air. All that fancy razzle dazzle puts him ahead by nearly 1 second going into the cave section. The only difference between our two racers in this section is the glider strat and the mini turbo arrangement. They both fly across, grab some mini turbos, then use their first mushroom to cut out the last turn as much as they can before the finish line. At the end of lap 1, Army has put just over 1 second between him and K-Mech. K-Mech repeats what he did on lap 1 through the quicksand, except he doesn't have to go any wider to pick up some coins this time around. He just focuses on keeping a solid line all throughout this section. Army only changes one thing in this section, and it's that he carries a super mini turbo through the Nisk on the first turn instead of a normal mini turbo. Other than that, he just carries on with all that speed on a tight line through the end of this section, where he now leads by 1.7 seconds going into the bone section. We can skip over K-Mech's approach to this section as it's the same as before. Instead, we'll take a closer look at Army's strat. We know he carries speed over that ramp and into an ultra mini turbo, but let's take a look at the bone cage part of this section. Before the first ramp, he hits a mini turbo and spin boost right before it and carries that speed into another mini turbo just before the jump boost. This is faster because with this loadout, he's able to drift slightly offline and grab a large enough boost to make it worth it. That small little push is all he needs to increase his lead over K-Mech to 2.2 seconds. It's just same old for K-Mech as he comes flying out of the glider ramp into a tight turn and a decent mushroom cut to close out the second lap. Can we just appreciate how funny it is to see Army facing completely down as he goes off the glider ramp? It's wild how the mechanics in this game work sometimes. That awkward position is enough for him to come up with a boost from a mini turbo into a semi-optimal glider path before picking up a couple more mini turbos before the shroom spot near the end of the lap. The sum of time saved due to these impressive strats from Army contribute to a 2.4 second lead over K-Mech's former world record. The last lap is pretty much the same as lap 2 for both of our racers, so I've got some more updates for you guys. As of right now, I'm running another contest on this channel. I've been tallying up all the mini turbos from each episode this season, and by episode 20 I'll have the final number. Whoever can guess the total number of all mini turbos from all 10 episodes first, or get the closest to it, will win a shout out in the season 3 premiere. Leave your guesses in the comments, message me on Discord or Twitter, just contact me somehow with your guess and you'll be entered to win. Speaking of Season 3, it's looking like we've got a release date of October 5th at 9 AM. I'll update you guys if that changes, so stay tuned. And just like that, we've come to the end of another track thanks to my pointless rambling. Army pulled out all the time saves and executed them to near perfection, posting a final time that is 3.75 seconds faster than K-Mech's former world record. By carrying more speed, utilizing a no-item shortcut on all 3 laps, and getting more boosts all throughout the course, Army was able to put up a time that shattered the previous records and holds a pretty significant lead over the rest of the world's best. Let's see what he had to say about that. What was going through your mind when you broke this world record?
I was extremely nervous because my run has 2 best known splits in it. I could hear my heartbeat when I got a fast no-item shortcut on lap 2.
When you first beat Alberto's 148.9, you did it by over 0.3 of a second, and then not 2 days later you shaved another 0.3 off that time. How were you able to achieve such massive drops like that without any massive strat change?
Well, I didn't. I don't think I've told anyone about it yet, but I hoarded 3 world records until I got a 0.5 and unhoarded for the new decade. But then I indeed went from a 0.5 to a 0.2 because Bone Dry Dunes is incredibly inconsistent and I only managed to finish a lucky run.
The best known split sometime is only 10 frames away from a 147. Is this a possibility with current strats, or do we have to wait for new ones to be discovered?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say a mid 47 is doable because you can get something called a fast Nisk, which I got on the second lap of my run. It saves a ridiculous amount of time.
Great words from the man who has so few. Let's take a closer look at those best known splits. All 3 of them are owned by Army and spread out across 2 different runs. The best known laps 1 and 2 are actually part of the world record, and his lap 3 split is part of a 148.9, which would be good enough for 4th worldwide. While the record and best sometime are close, Army believes the record can be improved even further simply by hitting a fast Nisk on every lap, and maybe even further after that with better optimization. Let's take a look at who else can drive this course pretty well. Army leads the pack with his time that's a whopping 0.5 of a second ahead of fellow French player Origin. Alberto rounds out the top 3 with his 148.9, which is a Spanish national record. Australian player Panda and Japanese player Crack go 4 and 5, separated by a mere 6/1000ths of a second, each with their respective country's record. We see early Bone Dry Dunes veteran Jobo in 6th, and Lemon right behind him in 7th. The top 10 is rounded out by Cone, Thomas, and Doodle, all separated by just over 1/10 of a second. With half a second edge over his closest competitor, it's probably safest to assume that nobody will touch Army's record for quite some time, or somebody will come through and beat it within 12 hours of this release. Anything is possible. That's the end of episode 19. Don't forget the Mini Turbo guessing contest goes live now, so get your guesses in for what you think the Season 2 total Mini Turbo count will be. More details in the description, so check those out. If you enjoyed this video, like and share it with your friends, and comment below which courses you want me to analyze next. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.